So we're back to some Yooka-Laylee. Now in my previous Yooka-Laylee video, I mentioned that Playtonic Games has been very quiet these past few months. But apparently, there was a podcast last month, and I didn't know about this until someone mentioned it to me. So thank you to that person. The podcast was around an hour and 16 minutes and it was pretty interesting. The podcast featured Andy Robinson, editorial and communication director of Playtonic Games, and Steve Mayles, a rare veteran character artist. He designed characters such as Dixie Kong and Banjo-Kazooie. Now Mayles used to work for Rare, right? So he left the company in 2014. Andy Robinson joined Playtonic Games in 2015. So this basically tells us that Playtonic Games is a brand new company, if some of you didn't know. If some of you are interested about the podcast, I'll simply leave the link in the description. Now the point of this video is to kind of go over the most interesting stuff that was mentioned during the podcast. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Now in our previous video, I was like, will Playtonic Games appear at E3 2016? Since you know, we haven't received any news regarding Yooka-Laylee. According to the podcast, Playtonic Games will be present at E3 2016. Now I got all hyped up. Now they only mentioned about their presence. They didn't go into detail, they didn't talk about whether or not we should see a conference or something like that. But still, the company is going to be present at E3, so maybe we could expect a new gameplay trailer, maybe new worlds, maybe new characters. So yeah, there you go, their presence has been confirmed. That's a good thing. Now Playtonic Games is aware that fans have been waiting for a while for news or new trailers. And since the game's been funded via Kickstarter, the company feels like it's time to give some news and to show how they appreciate their fans. Now there's one thing they mentioned during the podcast. Working on a game and giving updates can be tricky. I agree. You don't want to come up with a trailer that looks cheap or rushed, cause you know, fans will just complain in the comment section. But at the same time, since it was funded by fans, the company feels like they should at least come up with something. And since E3 is on its way, company decided to have a presence at E3 2016. And like I just said, the game was kickstarted, so the company feels like they have to put in their best into the game. Like, they don't want to disappoint the fans who funded the game. The fans are expecting to see what they saw in the first trailer. So at a point, it's kind of understandable why the company's been very quiet. 1, they're new, and 2, they simply don't want to disappoint people. They just want to do their best, and since E3 is on its way, that finally gives them a chance to have a presence and probably give us a new trailer or something. I'm really excited for this game. It literally reminds me of Banjo-Kazooie in my childhood. I can't wait to see what they have in store for us. And I'm pretty sure they do have something in store for us. And why am I saying that? Now during the podcast, it was explained that fans should wait a few weeks for news. And since the podcast was uploaded on April 22nd, then I'm going to say that we should expect some news pretty soon. What do you guys think? So like I mentioned in my previous video, the release date still says October 2016. Now should fans expect some sort of demo? Probably. Okay, now a while back, Playtonic Games announced a toy box version of Yooka-Laylee. And people wondered, hey, is that really a thing? Like, nothing's been revealed so far. But according to the podcast, Toy-Box is a demo-ish version of Yooka-Laylee. Now why am I saying demo-ish? Look, demos, most of the time, have levels and gameplays which end up in the final game. However, according to Playtonic Games, Toy-Box isn't really considered a demo, since the version of the game will only feature Yooka-Laylee and a world which will not be featured in the final game. The Toy-Box version will simply allow people to control Yooka and Laylee, to see how the game works and what it feels like. And by doing so, the company doesn't want to spoil anything, meaning this version of the game will be spoiler-free. So technically, it's not really considered a demo, but let's still call it a demo so it's easier for you guys. Now what was pretty hilarious during the podcast is that Steve Mayles revealed the gender of the villain. I know it's not something huge, but still, it gave us a hint. So the villain is a he, according to Steve Mayles. It kind of slipped out, that's what's actually funny about it. And how exactly did it slip out? Well, he was basically asked for his favorite character designed in Yooka-Laylee, and because of that, it simply slipped out. According to Playtonic Games, fans are pretty much excited for the brand new character Kartos, which is basically inspired by the name Kratos, and about that they actually gave us an anecdote. Kartos is basically a version of Kratos misspelled. Now Andy Robinson worked at a future publishing company for magazines and stuff like that. At a point, in a PlayStation magazine, I think it was called PSW, a title read Kartos, but the title was supposed to read Kratos, and because of that, Kartos actually became a thing. And I've just realized something. Did I mispronounce Kartos wrong this whole time? In my old video, I think I pronounced Kartos as Kartos? Anyways. Now, is there anything else that was mentioned about the villain? Not really, but at a point they were asked if the villain looked like the face in one of the backgrounds. Well, this background to be more precise. And you realize that there's this head in the background? Now, this wallpaper was created by an environment artist, Dean Wilson. And no, according to Playtonic, the face we see in the background is not the villain. It's just the design of the world. That's it. So I don't know if a lot of you have played Banjo-Kazooie when you were younger, but I don't know if you remember, the characters in that game knew that they were in a video game. It was kind of a funny thing that went on with Rare back in the days. Like, I don't know if you remember, if you've played Banjo-Kazooie, I think in the ending Gruntilda was like, I'll see you in Banjo 3E or something. So yeah, the characters knew they were in the game, which was pretty funny. Now, is the same thing going to happen to Yooka-Laylee? Now, we might see something like that in Yooka-Laylee, however, I think Steve Mayles said that he doesn't like that kind of stuff in the game, or was it Andy? Anyways, I'm not too sure if we'll see something like that, but maybe we will. Like, we're talking about a classic 3D platformer, which kind of reminds us of Banjo-Kazooie. If they add something in the game like that, I don't know, it would probably be nostalgic or something. And now, for the mechanics of the game, nothing big or major was mentioned, but according to the company, the player will have the chance to decide the order in which abilities can be learned. We're talking about a non-linear game here, so it's pretty much an open world game, so the players will have a lot of choices to make. And according to Playtonics, that's something they've never seen before. Well, in these types of games, I mean. It's something new, right? However, since the game was kick-started, they don't want to move away too much from what they showed initially to fans. Like I said in the beginning, they don't want to disappoint them. They want to give fans what they saw in the trailer. A classic, nice 3D platformer games we used to play as kids on the Nintendo 64. Here's another interesting thing which was mentioned during the podcast. Playtonic Games feels like the characters in Yooka-Laylee have the chance to have their own spin-off. They didn't really say have the chance, but they feel like some of the characters in the game could eventually show up in spin-offs. Nothing much was mentioned. They didn't talk about any details. And about that, Andy Robinson kind of gave us a hint. He simply mentioned something, he started laughing at the same time. Now Robinson takes screenshots of the games they're working on. And during the podcast, he mentioned Trouser, Trouser might appear in the game, and he started laughing. And the people who questioned him were wondering, are you hinting us towards something? Since you know, Robinson takes a bunch of screenshots on games they're working on. And at a point, Robinson mentioned that he doesn't take any screenshots of games he doesn't own or work on. Now something tells us he probably saw Trouser in one of these screenshots. I don't know, because of that some people believe that some of the characters in Yooka-Laylee might be shown in other games. Well, appear in other games I mean. And apart from that, nothing else was mentioned regarding the subject. Okay, here's something else. Gavin Price from Playtonic Games feels like that in the 90s, they missed the opportunity to mix universes, and I think he was talking about Rareware. The only crossover game we had back in the day was Diddy Kong Racing. Now that game was really fun and really annoying at a point at which you wanted to throw your controller at the TV. Yes, I'm talking about you, Wispig. And yes, I remember Banjo-Kazooie's design, which they completely butchered.
I'm Banjo. Whoa! I'm
Yeah, but apart from the designs, the game was pretty fun. Okay, so to my understanding, Playtonic Games feels like it's time to mix some of their games with other games. Come up with more crossovers and stuff like that. I don't know, does this mean that we might eventually see a Yooka-Laylee crossover with Banjo-Kazooie? That would be crazy though, but Microsoft owns Banjo-Kazooie. And yeah, I know it sucks, but it's the reality. Now one last thing guys before I end this video. It has to do with the Nintendo NX. Now, could that affect the release of Yooka-Laylee? According to Playtonic, not at all. fans shouldn't worry, the game's still gonna get released on the Wii U. So guys, you don't really have to worry. And with that being said, I'm gonna end the video right here, guys. Now tell me what you think in the comment section. Are you excited that Playtonic Games will be present at E3 2016? Do you think they'll show us a new trailer, new characters, new soundtracks or something? If so, mention in the comments. Other than that, I've been Vivi and I'll catch you awesome guys next time. Thanks for watching.